Okay, guys, happy Thursday evening. Clear some of this space here and get to work. So, didn't get a chance to film yesterday. And man, I need some ice. I'm actually going to be right back. Let me put some ice in this drink. I'll be right back. Okay, let's try it again with ice in our drinks. Okay, so we're going to get back to finishing these check 38s. So where we're at here is we have painted the bases in the base color. They look really, really small when they kind of are. I mean, the tanks are not very big. These tanks anyways aren't. And they're complete other than the weathering. So that's what we're going to do. Now, the only thing I'm not 100% on is, what did I get? Something sticky on ourselves? Oh, I did grab the creamer. That's probably what it was. Creamer for the coffee. And I'm not 100% on is the numbers. These are the numbers that I wanted to use. The other option was the hollow white ones, and I'm not sure that that's going to have the correct look. And really, I like the I like the red numerals, but they're all individual ones, and we kind of had to get them in place. The crosses on the back of the turret is a little bit big. I don't have as many cross options as I thought I did, but I'm going to put some micro sol on this and see if we can't soften it up a little bit on the back of this turret. Worst case, so I'm gonna try to weather one of these all the way up and see if I'm 100% happy with it. And I tend to overreact. I tend to say, I don't really like how this looks. And then when I do the weathering, I'm like, oh, what the hell was I worried about? All the time. So, and it's mainly just around these rivets that are here at the bottom. Because they're on kind of a flat spot. But that cross is a little bit bigger than I would have wanted it. I need to start getting in the habit of when I put a decal on, I'll actually trim it before I put it in water, and actually trim it and make it smaller, because actually what's overlapping this is just kind of the clear part of the decal, not necessarily any of the painted one, any of the painted part. But we decaled all three of these the same. Obviously they have different numbers, the three of them, but they have the cross on the back of the turret, and they have the cross up here, and there's really no place to put one on this other side. I would have to take one and trim it badly and somehow stuff it there. I just decided not to do that. I saw some other tanks that pictures that they actually have a cross back here on this little piece, but it just has too many big rivets. I'm not a fan of putting decals over stuff that is that has a lot of detail on it, because you run the risk of it not sitting really well. It doesn't matter how many times you use the microsol and gloss coated, it just doesn't seem to work out 100% all the time. So a little bit about the turret numbering system, and of course there's different versions of it or what have you. Sometimes they used a single digit, sometimes they use two, sometimes they use three. And if I didn't have a ton of stuff to do, I probably would start putting together a database of certain units at certain time periods, what kind of numerals they used. Because if you look, and we're just talking strictly Barbarossa 41, there's some units like the 11th Panzer Division, the guys that have a little skeleton dude, they tended to have white numbers that were 2 digits, 2-digit codes. So the standard is 3 digits, and what the digits mean, and I need to flip these, don't I? Yep, of course, because for some reason now this defaults as being a mirror image. Okay. Backwards again. Yep, the fucking video's backwards again. You got it. It didn't used to do that, and all of a sudden it's doing that again. You know this, what I'm about to say anyways, Nordics, but you know, you can just go la 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 in your head. But if I didn't have anything to do, I would probably make a database of the numbering systems, because from what I can tell, just looking at decals and ideas online, there's different units, and specifically in Barbarossa, because as you go later on in the war, the German stuff is just thrown together. They're just playing from conf group to conf group, kind of piecemealing all stuff together. But, you know, theoretically, in June of 1941, they kind of had their act together better than at any other time from getting everything organized. And there's certain units that, for instance, only used a single-digit number. Other ones that just used 2, and the standard one is the 3. And this is the part where I know that you already know this. So the 3 numbers are the company. The first number is the company. The middle one is the number of the platoon. And the last one is the tank within that platoon. So this particular vehicle, 6th Company, 3rd Platoon, 1st Tank. 6th Company, 1st Platoon, 2nd Tank. And 6th Company, 2nd Platoon, 4th Tank. I didn't want to make them consecutive or missing one. I also figured that the 1st tank in the platoon would probably be a commander, so I left it open. Now, I didn't want him to be like a 601 or 600. That would actually be the company commander's tank. I didn't want him to be, you know, somebody of a really high rank, but this is the one that's going to have the guy in it, so that's why I decided to make it the 1st tank on it. So different units have different, but you can't go, I don't think there's a place you can go and find all that information. You just kind of have to, just by looking at different things. So 11th Panzer Division, for instance, on all their Panzer IVs, they seem to have 2-digit codes in white. And, you know, I personally like 3-digit codes. I like all 3. That doesn't mean I haven't done 2-digit codes or single ones, but there's one unit that had yellow numbers, single numbers. So they'd have like a 9 or a 10 or well, actually that would be 2, but and I forget which division it is. But the 11th, the 7th Panzer Division, which is Rommel's old unit, and it's in one of these scenario books, actually has the white numbers that are hollow, and like this one here. 3-digit numbers that are hollow. I decided, you can't tell that they're hollow, but they are. There you go. And I decided not to do that because I wanted these guys to pop a little bit. When I think of Czech 38s, I think of the red numerals with white outlines. Just me personal. Which is what the 7th Panzer Division actually used in France. Or, you know. So it'd be interesting to make a database that had all those particular units on there. Some units had like big hand-painted numbers. Some had different ones. And of course, that's just kind of something to go with. Stuff changed all the time. But I wanted all 3 of these guys to be the same type of number. And so we're going to detail one all the way up, and not the commander's one. And just see if I'm happy with it. And if I'm not, then, well, then I'm not. But so far, so good. I haven't added the metallic part to the tools and stuff. I'm going to wait until I do the weathering. But so far, so good as a starting point. I love this color as the starting point for the tracks. I am really, really happy with it. And this is just what used to be called SS Camel Black, and now it's called something else from Vallejo. But I don't know where the hell it went. Oh, that's the old one. It's now called German Camouflage Black Brown. So anyhow, all right. So we're going to let's get us a dry brush and a dry brush area, and we're going to use the same colors that we're going to implement here, and hopefully by the time we're done with it, we can go ahead and do these bases, because it'd be nice to get one based all the way through. All right, let's see. We've got U.S. Field Drab and Iraqi Sand. Wherever the hell she is. That's buff. This is Iraqi Sand. Yep. This is the old Iraqi Sand. Let's use a newer one that's easier to get it out. All right, so we're going to, I did that prematurely, and let's get this off my workspace. This should work fine. We're not going to abuse this brush too much. Too much. Lord. I'm getting really tired of this time. I can't wait for the time change back. And I remember a couple of months ago, I'm like, I wish they would just pick one or the other. No, I don't. I want them to not pick this one, because it feels like it's 10 o'clock at night. It's been dark here for almost 2 hours, and I don't want to go to bed. It's only 7:30, or just after 7:30. But it definitely affects me quite a bit. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add, we're going to dry brush this U.S. Field Drab, which is the middle color. I don't know why this one's so damn watery. It's the middle color here. Anybody know if that postal strike is still going on? Is it a postal strike in the UK, or is it cyber attacks, or is it both? I heard there was a postal strike or something. I know it's getting real old not to be getting something in the mail that should be heading my way. Something that shouldn't even be heading my way because they should have sent me the right thing to begin with. I have no idea why the hell this one's so wet. Maybe I was using a different one. I mean, the same color, but just a different bottle of it. Okay, that's better. That's a little better. Oh, we have like a hair or something here. Probably wouldn't be noticeable, but I noticed it. Okay. How you doing today, Nordic? Feeling better? Just cyber tax for the moment. Some retailers are saying it doesn't impact post to the U.S. Well, we'll see. So I don't know why that whole Brexit would have affected us. If anything, it would have been easier to trade between each other. But what do I know? I think it just people were missing out on some kind of on things they could mark up and they noticed it, you know? To make you feel better, I got my museum order though in 2 days. Man, that's quick. They're always quick. What I'm waiting on is I actually don't have anything on order. What I'm waiting on is them the war game map people to make my order right. And they said they told me about well before Christmas that they'd make it right, and then I contacted them on the 3rd of January and said, "Hey, is it on the way?" And they acted like they had forgotten. So doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well. Luckily, it's not something that's a huge deal. I'm just one of the things I'm going to be looking for at war game shows is terrain mats. Because if I'm stuck with this one, I mean, it takes decent photos because I can fold it where you can't see those crease marks, but I'm not looking forward to playing on it. So, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to go the way of the paper terrain buildings. I got them. They'll work if I got to test out some rules, but they're not going to be around for the long game. It just doesn't. I'm spending too much effort making this stuff look nice. You know, my goal is if I game, I want I want my game to look like the stuff that you guys salivate. Oh, that we salivate looking at it, War Games magazine. If it's not up to that level, then I'm not interested in doing it. You know, I'm not going to throw felt on there and, you know, have a nice day. I'm not. That's fine for a game, but it's more than just a game. Okay, now's the part we got to be careful because we don't want to do too much of this. And let me just use something fresh here, and we're gonna weather the bottom of this. Here goes. Always start with a running gear. And remember that we got one more color to put on here, so you don't need to go the whole hog. We still got that lighter color to put in. Is it cyber attacks just to be a nuisance, or is it cyber attacks for ransom? You like the look of Hovell's buildings, but they're $225, and I hear they need a lot of Dremel work, removing resin to make them top notch. They're very cheap though. They do 15 and 20, but the 25 mil is the most extensive from what I remember. I've got some. I don't want to get them right now. They're for Western Europe, and they're very, very heavy. They might be Hovels. They might be. I was thinking they were a company called the Queen's Hussars, or at least that was the name of the company when I bought them. And they do a lot of work, and they need a lot of work that is. I'm not going to say scary to do, but I'm probably going to put on a dust mask or something because, you know, when you start getting stuff like resin in the air, you know, I don't want that shit in my lungs. You know, I ain't worried about COVID, but, you know, I don't want to get cancer in my fucking lungs from, you know, from particulates like that. That's the kind of shit I'm scared of. So, all right, we're just going to go around the edges here. At some point, I'm going to have to work on them. But they're kind of sloppy, you know, and they're so heavy. Ransom, but it's allegedly Russian, so it might just be a jab back at us for the last year or so. Don't jab back at me. I didn't do anything. I'm not pro-Russian, but I'm just, I don't want to jump on sides so quick. None of that makes any sense to me. And I haven't followed what was going on over there, but none of it adds up to anything. It's probably going to be one of those things that we're never going to get the true story of what really happened there, but make no sense. Okay, let's do a little bit over here. Gotta remember, we still got a lighter one to do. Okay, and let's do the turret. Oh, we need more of this stuff right here. Russian nerd burglars, then. Let's see how these two look together. And as always, I put some glasses on so I can see what's really going on. Okay. All right, we're going to do the same thing, but we will use Iraqi sand. And let's put it over here. And where's this here? There we go. I think I've got this down pretty well. Now, of course, whenever I get around to doing desert stuff, Oliver Cromwell, welcome back. Hung, drawn, and quartered, yet he's still back. Hey, Oliver. I got this down to a point where I like it pretty well how I'm doing it. And whenever I do desert stuff, I'm going to have to just kind of start over again. Well, not start over from scratch, because I've got some desert basing that I'm really happy with for my 15s, and I'll probably just replicate that. They use similar colors but different colors. I want to do an Africa Corps vehicle just for the challenge of doing it gray and then dry brushing the tan and see how that turns out. And I bet I can get it looking where I'm happy with it. Which is all I want. I just want to make me happy. I want to be happy with the results. Hey Rick, welcome back. One more day to go. Can almost taste the freedom. Now, we gotta be real. We gotta be real gentle. Because we're not doing an Africa Corps vehicle just yet. So we don't want it to look too light. Surprise. Now roll for initiative, sucker. That's right. What was the games that you were saying that were good of the Resident Evils? You said 2, 3, and 4? I went to go see yesterday if they had one on the Xbox that were free. I mean, because some of them were kind of old and, and none of them were. But I did download a demo for Village, and I played about 3 minutes of it, and I'm like, nope, can't play this. I don't need this kind of stress in my life. Nope. I don't need jump scares in a game. Thank you. I was like, you start like in this one room, and you check this out and you pick this thing up and you check this out and you look at inventory. I'm like, oh, I have a pistol. Well, why isn't that out? So we pull the pistol out. So I'm looking around with a pistol, and they want me to crawl into a chimney. I'm like, nope, not doing it. Off. They won't be on Xbox. Yes, they were. They have them. There's very few games that they don't have that are proprietary. There's very few games that are proprietary to Sony. And likewise, there's very few games that are proprietary to Xbox, but there are some. Um, I couldn't remember which ones you said were good. Nope, never played Dead Space. I've given up on video games. There's nothing new or creative recently. Yeah, I don't want to play first person shooters anymore. So I'd want to play in third person. I've just done too much first person in my life. I don't need any more of that. They're fun as a distraction, but I'm not giving this up, you know. But I really like that Gates of Hell Ostfront. I really like that game. It's not perfect, but you can do some fun things there. Let's just go real light on this. Now sometimes when you dry brush this, it gets gummed up a little bit, so I got to be careful. I don't want to spend the time fixing anything when I could have just taken a little longer and done it right the first time. Yeah. Yeah, they kind of are a waste of time. I've been trying to get into playing the Division again. And I just hate boss battles that are bullet sponges. That's what it is. It's just, they're bullet sponges. And I don't want to have to replay shit. I don't mind things being challenging, but I swear some games are just made for people that just don't have jobs. You know. Okay, I think this is where we want this at. Let's do the same thing with a turret. Now, you're not going to get the whole picture until I actually seal it. And that's a little ways off. Let's grab another one. That one's getting kind of gummy. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the definition of bullet sponges. Yeah, but that game is so beautiful. And what's her face isn't bad looking either. That helps. Yeah, I thought the Division's worse than Assassin's Creed as far as bullet sponges. Man, I was playing that one level with the Minotaur, and I'm a big fan of Minotaurs. That's one of my favorite creatures. And I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, just like expecting it to like jump out at me. And it ended up, not being kind of anticlimactic, but I was so like worried when I was in that level. But there's a couple of the bosses I've tried to beat, and I'm like, nah. It's one of those, I've played it in so long, I'd have to like start over to remember where everything is. And see, that's a game I don't mind. That is, you have to like stealth, but sometimes things go sideways, and then you just have to fight your way out. Not like, oh, you made a noise, start over again. You know, you lose. No, it's like, if you make a noise, you're going to make it a lot more difficult on you. So we'll try to sneak around until something goes sideways, and then we'll fight the rest of the people. But that is a beautiful game. And I always thought that if I built like an Athenian army or something like that, I would get some inspiration from some of the colors on there. They're kind of over the top. The thing about that game that I like a lot is I really dislike Alcibiades in real life, reading about him. And he's a dick in that game too. So I like never helped him out, you know. I never helped that guy out. But it's a beautiful game. It's certainly the one of the series that I've liked the most that I've played. The pirate one wasn't bad either. I'm just not into pirates. And the naval combat stuff seems real simple until you get the hang of it. The naval combat I can't handle is the naval combat that's in, what do you call this? The Total War series. I am no good at that. But the naval combat on Assassin's Creed games, oh yeah. Once you get your stuff together and you get the hang of it, you can just destroy people. I never played Origins. My Xbox One came with the Pirate one and the French Revolution one for free, or already included in the price. So I played those. I played the Pirate one more. The French Revolution one was okay. And then Odyssey, I don't get them when they come out. I get them when they're out, been, a little older, and they're less expensive. Because eventually, no matter how good it is, you'll get tired of it. Or I do. Okay, it's still going to look like there's a wet spot under the number because there's some discoloration there just from putting the gloss coat down. But let me put my glasses on and see what that looks like. I could see you playing a Spanish pirate hunter, but I can't picture you playing as a pirate. Yeah, I know. I felt bad. The only thing that made me do okay is it was bourbon Spanish. So, they weren't real Spanish. They were like the French Spanish. So I could deal with it, but I liked it, Okay. That looks pretty good. And let's put one of the Panzer IIs out here so we can compare coloration wise. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm not going to go brighter than that. I'm not going to go dustier than that. I think that's okay. Now, like I said, I'm going to do one of these all the way through, so we can leave Panzer II out here. And then after the Czech 38s, in case you guys were wondering, we're going to jump on the T-70s. We're going to do the T3 T-70s. And then probably the Panzer IIIs. That look strangely very large. Well, just about everybody's miniature or model, there's always something wrong with it. Oh, the turret's too big. Oh, it's too small. Oh, the turret ring is this. Oh, it's off a little bit, Hey, there's only so much you can do. All right, we need to paint the metallic things on here. These little wooden things on here, and I'm going to need to spray this. I'm not spraying at night. I know better than that. I've screwed myself big time doing that. New organs found in New Kingdom Egyptians. Say pastel chalks because price a lot better and you get more. You can create your own weather powder mixes. That's what I used to use. Pastel chalks. And they worked pretty well. Back in the early 90s. Back in the early 90s. I remember we had our monthly hobby meeting at the store. And then after it was done, we'd watch Home Improvement, because Home Improvement was on back then. Okay, we're gonna need a smaller brush than this. All right, now we got to be careful with this because we're going to do kind of a half-ish kind of dry brushing. That's the axe. And then we move over to this side and we have a mallet. And then we have this long ass stick. It's also metallic. And then we have a shovel. And a pickaxe. More cable down here. Machine gun there. Machine gun here. I think I've given up on playing Gaslands. It's just too much. You know, it's another one of those that has rules that are written weirdly, and I don't want to play that stuff anymore. I don't want to have stuff that's like, you know, we have to deal with the consequences of the rules being written in a strange manner. And I hate the factions in the game. A friend is coming over to teach me a skirmish game called Forbidden Psalm on Sunday. Yeah, not everybody's good at explaining rules. I have a feeling you're probably really good at explaining them, Rick. I'm actually not. I am if I have like an outline, but just off the cuff, I'll end up forgetting stuff, and you know, I'm good at answering questions. You know, I'm being fair, but I'm not the best at explaining. I know a couple of people that are pretty good at explaining them, but I always struggle with trying to find the actual starting point of how to explain something to somebody. You know, because I'm not really a good judge to see what maybe some starting blocks that the person already has to learn from. I need an outline to do it right. Yeah, I can't be good at everything. Okay, so here is this thing painted all the way. And I think I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, I'm an idiot. We need to do the wood. We need to do the wood on that. Okay, It's beige brown. Let's get this back out here. So yeah, I thought it'd be cool to do like a database of, okay, if you're building the 8th Panzer Division in 41, they tended to have yellow numerals or whatever, and only 2 of them on the turret. But that's too much free time on my hands. Then as soon as you do that, somebody would be like, that's not what they had. Like I was on, and I'm new to Reddit. And I know Reddit's a bunch of garbage, but it's just like people say Facebook's a lot of garbage. It depends how you use it. But I was on I forgot what forum it was, and somebody was talking about the Centurion tank. And somebody went and said, oh no, they say they didn't use it in World War II, but they actually did, and 5 of them got in, and and knocked out some German tanks, but they couldn't find a Tiger or a Panther to see how they did against them. And I'm like, well, that's preposterous. I've never heard of that. So there's people on bulletin boards that just kind of they want to argue about shit and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I'm really not really interested in that. You feel free to be misguided. I don't need to correct you. You've completely divorced yourself from forums and social media. I just find it too toxic, and I can't deal with it anymore. Oh well, I can deal with it. I know what you mean about toxic. I just block people. I got a friend of mine who sticks his foot in his mouth a lot. But all of his friends are like half of his friends like argue with everything he puts on there. And I don't know why he puts up with it. And I mentioned to him in person, he's like, oh, I just like to argue. Well, I don't. I think arguing is a waste of time. And it's like it's like being around people that all you do is focus on stuff that's different between us. It's like, what's the point? You're not going to convert anybody. But there's one guy on his page, I'm not even friends with him. I had to block him. I don't, this guy's like a devout communist. Like he deserves to go to the gulag. So I'm like, no, before I say something to this guy, I'm just going to block him. So he's dead to me. And when I told him in person who it was, he's like, yeah. I said, well, I don't know why the hell you're friends with him. And the guy is like a communist. He's like literally willing to take your freedom away, Twitter, I see no value in Twitter. I actually figured I'd use Twitter for a little bit. The problem with Twitter is this. You get all kinds of things suggested to you that you're not even interested in. Like I was getting all kinds of feeds about famous people, and I just don't follow folks. I don't have any, sports or athletes that I've got to follow that I think the world of. That's just not me, And I was getting a lot of suggestions about things that I had no interest in. So it was just like tons of spam, The problem with the internet is there's no consequences to being an asshole. When you're a kid in the 70s and the 80s, if you called somebody a whatchamacallit, you're going to get your ass beat. So there was consequences to it, not just, being a keyboard commando. And, I don't do it because that's just, why am I wasting calories on, on people that aren't worth it? Like I said, you're not going to convert anybody. If I was interested in converting people, which I'm not, you're just wasting your time. Check out what's going on with the vanity being put in. Mirror, mirror on the wall. But some people don't seem to care. Just like online games, I don't talk to anybody with a headset on. The time that I've played with people that I know in real life, sure. But random people, nah, there's no sense of honor. They'll disconnect or, mouth off to you for no reason. And I have a really low tolerance of playing with people that, don't abide by being fair and civilized in a game. Everybody's trying to win, so be civilized, folks. Keyboard command. I'm not talking about going commando while on the keyboard. I'm sure some people do that. That's a good way to sit on something you're not supposed to sit on. Armchair warriors. Well, that's us. War gamers are armchair warriors. Okay, we got that done. I think we're going to call this one complete. Like I said, we're going to have to give it a dull coat on there, but it's pretty much complete. All right, next. Put this away for the time being. It'll come out here shortly. I always like doing a check on one thing to make sure I don't get too far along, go down the wrong path. All right, now to find where my dry brush went. Here it is. Oh, this is the good one. Where's the crappy one? One that's been violated. That's what this thing looks like. It's been violently violated. Okay, this is that side. Oh, it's over here. So I'm looking forward, actually. Next show I go to, I'm actually going to bring some of my vehicles. Not to play or anything, but if they have any terrain mats, I want to put them on the terrain mat and see what they look like. Because the one I have, actually, I like. The pattern for the ground is excellent. It's very compatible with what I have. It's just too slick. It's actually, I want to say it's gotten less matte. I don't know whether it's perception or not, but I remember when I got it, I'm like, this thing smells bad and is super shiny. And I don't know whether that's just some of it is dissipated or my perception of it has changed or. No, this just won't do. That one's had it. All right. And that's why you buy cheap brushes. What show am I planning on going to? Recon. in Orlando. It's in April. It's the third weekend in April. And Huracan, which is in the third. It's strange to have some flying creature in here. And Huracan is in the same place. It's the same convention basically twice a year. Is the third weekend in September. So no Historicon this year. And I'm not planning on running anything. I'm just going to go hang out, play some games. One of the problems if you run something is you see something cool and you can't be involved in it because you're running something. So I don't really have that much of an itch to play. And I haven't been playing. I went over on Monday night. I didn't play. We're playtesting some stuff, but I wasn't one of the players. I'm more interested in doing this creative stuff. Uh-oh. I don't think I dry brushed the tracks, the light color. Well, they're not done yet. I may not need it. Okay, we did that side. Right, we'll come over to this side. Have you ever seen Little Wars TV guys ever? They seem to be quite influential in the hobby. Well, I've watched lots of their shows. They were at Historicon last year, and I said hi. I did a walkthrough on Historicon, and actually inadvertently ended up interviewing one of the guys. That wasn't my intent, because the stuff I do is not to their level. Hey, they got a guy that's what he does. He doesn't, at least one person, they spend a lot of time editing videos, and I don't have time for that or interest. That I've got stuff to paint. So editing videos is good for somebody who's not a talented painter. I got things I gotta paint. But I did talk to one guy who was very nice. The other ones kind of like were kind of shocked that they were being filled by somebody. You know, like I was gonna get them out of context or anything. That's not what I do. I don't try to like, oh, you said something, some or another. I'm not that way. But they may not know that. But anyhow, yeah, their programming is pretty good. Even though the last thing they put out, I wasn't really a big fan of. I wasn't a big fan of the Paris thing. I was expecting it to be much better. The subject matter is something I'm very interested in, but what it ended up not being very very. I did see it. Their Age of Hannibal rules. One of the vendors had their Age of Hannibal rules there, and I did flip through it. And although it did have some interesting things in it, it still had that whole conforming nonsense that makes it feel like it's wooden. But there's some interesting things about like leaders and stuff in the rules, but I don't think it's an improvement based really on what I was using at the time. But yeah, they were there. I don't know that they've been putting out that many videos lately. I mean, I'm subscribed to their channel, so I do get notifications when they come through. But one thing I don't like about them, and you know, this isn't really a knock. I'm just saying they're into so many periods that appeals to a lot more people, but it doesn't necessarily appeal to me because they do most of the stuff they do. I'll never play. You know, they play all kinds of different stuff. They'll play World War II. They'll play some rule set that I'm not interested in. So that's good for their channel where they can appeal to a wide group of people. But I can't be involved in that many things. I wouldn't get anything done. You know, because I don't want to get involved in a lot of different things and then I just throw things out. I mean, I'm definitely interested in quality. And like I said, my whole goal with World War II is I want to put on a game, even if it's a solo game, that looks as good as those hobby magazines. If it doesn't look that good, I don't want to play it. You know, when it comes to World War II, when it comes to the stuff so that's why we're taking so much care painting all this stuff. I mean, I can paint to that level, so let's do it. You know, even though this is gaming, I can get my gaming out in other ways. You know, we can play video games. We can, you know, play less complicated games. This is just going to be a beautiful narrative building game that is going to move slow, but I don't plan on running this at a show or anything. I'm probably just going to keep it here, honestly. Packaging something up and then taking it to somebody else's house. That just sounds too much work for me. Might be one of those you play here and, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to play on weekends. Not get exhausted in the middle of a week. So we'll see. The priority isn't to play this as much as to create stuff for it and dioramas that you can potentially play in. Some of them seem very egocentrical and exclusive. I don't know. Skylab, welcome back. Panzer 38's one of your favorite early war tanks. Almost everybody likes them. Hey, the rivets are cute. They really are. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. The guy that I talked to for a while, some people aren't the same in person that they are on video. I'd like to think that I am, but who knows? Maybe other people, you know, you meet me, you're like, oh, you're not like you are on video. I don't pretend to be like somebody else. Hey, I like the asshole that I am, so I don't need to pretend to be somebody else. But the guy I talked to didn't seem like he was that friendly in videos, and he was a super nice guy. If you watch my walk around video, that's all I'm going to say, because that's only been my experience so far. But they are involved in a ton of different things that I find not very calming. You know, doing one thing. I'd rather be good at one thing than, you know, how's that saying go? Master of none, or whatever. I'm just not a fan of that. You know, I'll play anything, but I don't really have anything bad to say about them. I can tell you though that some people are definitely affected by fame. And you know, those guys have a ton of subscribers, and they do an excellent job. They should. You know, they appeal to a lot of stuff. My stuff doesn't. That's fine. I'm just doing this to, you know, you guys can keep me company. You know, and then hey, maybe I'll say something that will help somebody out. But more than that, that's it. You know, I'm not going to do stuff that I'm not into. You know, but I don't know. Maybe that affects people. But they definitely do some good programming. They're just involved in way too many things that I would find exhausting. Stick around for the banter, have similar interests. Well, yeah. Similar interests now that I'm not doing ancients. You never did it. You didn't do much ancients. I'm not an ancients guy though. I mean, this is the kind of person I am. This is what I do. I'm just going back to this. And I'm not anti-ancients or anything. I'm probably not going to paint any 15s this year. We're going to do all 20s. And I really enjoy the I feel like doing the 270s next, or I want to work on something else. Not like, I got to do this because the show's coming up. Those days are over. I'm not going back to that. That's annoying as shit. That makes me hate the hobby. I get paid for that kind of discomfort. All right, does this look equivalent? Again, well, I still have to do a lighter color on it, but yep. Actually, like Ancients and Sword and Shield, my problem is I don't have a rule set I play with, so I don't go after building armies for those periods. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to. Oh, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, we're not going to play it that way then. Because it's not like I'm strong arming people how to. It's like we all agree. It's like, hey, this doesn't make any sense, but we got to play it the way the rules say. I don't want to do that shit no more. You know, life's too short. So, at some point, I'm going to switch over and do some figures because there's some figures I want to do. I know that they're going to come out looking stellar because, well, they looked good before, and I'm sure with the 18 years of painting figures that I have on top of myself now. But we've got some like anti-tank riflemen. I don't have any. Some Soviet anti-tank riflemen, some snipers that we will get some stuff going, and then maybe do some practice games. And like I said, if something in these rules could use some streamlining, I'm probably not going to give it much thought and move in that direction because, heck, the rules are out of print. And I'm not running a tournament, so. But I think the way forward is to put everybody on one side, and I'll GM one side. So if you're playing early 41 stuff, it's easy to put everybody on the German side because they're a little bit more experienced, and the Russians are kind of like a horde. Move them around, just kind of speed everything up until everybody is familiar with the rule set. But it's real easy to pick up. It just moves slow. So I'm gonna try some ways of maybe moving it around a little bit faster. Maybe have the whoever's the more horrid side move in groups, and then move the other guys individually. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get there. But one thing I'm probably going to dispense with that is poses, not poses, but whether you're kneeling, standing, or laying prone. You just get rid of that. That just speeds it up. You know, at least initially. That's I think one thing that you can definitely cut the corner of. That doesn't really include, you know, it doesn't really improve the game that much. Imagine a heaven war game. The Angels of St. Michael versus Satan's Fallen Angels. That sounds like I played that in Diablo. In Diablo 3. Deja vu. Deja who? I had an idea for a war game and I forgot what the hell it was. And of course it was just an idea of it. But I can't be into everything. So let's be into World War II. Again. Once again. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to come back to it. But one of the things that was influenced is there's a guy who's, you guys know who he is. He's from Portugal, and he does stuff for Rapid Fire in this scale. And he just posted so many things, and I'm like, I need to be doing this. I could be, you know, I could be painting all this cool stuff, and I've forgotten about it for 20 years. And honestly, he was probably the most influential person, even though I don't know if he knows it or not, but of me getting back into the fold and doing this again. Because what he did was inspirational. I thought that he had really good presentation, and you know, he's got a lot of stuff painted. I'm like, I need to be doing stuff like that. It's long overdue. Has anyone here played to the strongest? I have not. Hoffman Samatobin, welcome. Have you seen that episode yet? Have you seen White Bear? It's your hobby and you have to be happy in your hobby. That's right, and it shouldn't cause you stress. It shouldn't cause you stress, or you're doing it wrong. I'll just dust this just a tiniest of bits. Let me do this here just so some of this pops out a little bit. Just very, very little. Oh, this is the one that's not painted. Durr. Well, we got something interesting. It's coming in the mail tomorrow that we'll do an unboxing on. And it might put a little wrinkle in things. A good wrinkle, not a bad wrinkle. And we will see. Well, I think so far so good. I'm really digging the colors I've picked for the tracks on this. I'm really happy with them. And I don't put any metal on them because it might be showing, but man, by the time you drive over stuff, it's all like dirt and shit, you know? And we do need to make a little, I do need to get on my computer turn it into a laptop and paint a crooked spider flag. Because one of these is going to have one. Probably on the engine deck here. The crooked spider people. And again, this is super. This is, you're getting a lot kicked back. They're not this light as you see them on your screen there. Now, you haven't been waiting for the girlfriend. I will, though. The girlfriend has been bugging me to watch that show. Keeping stress out of your hobby is one of the major reasons I haven't been playing games with certain people. Just don't invite them over. Rick, you can't like everybody, okay? So, do I need to have a talk to that person? Because I can be nasty. Yeah, I hate when it all cosplayers or complainers that even complain when they're winning. You know, that's no good. All right. Third check 38. All right. Let's get the basic color out now. That's not the first Wizards of the Coast controversies that's been. There's been other controversies, but I hate controversies in a hobby. Like, this should be fun. What are you doing? What are you doing bothering me and taking away my happiness? I don't know anything about Wizards of the Coast. I don't think I've got any of their stuff. They just do the wrong stuff. They're the Magic the Gathering folks, aren't they? Weren't they the original Magic the Gathering people? I just don't like buying a pack and you don't know what's in there. You know? That's like gambling. I don't gamble. It's just not my personality type. Wizards of the Coast is Hasbro, right? Magic 2, they are. I like the game Magic the Gathering and still have cards for it, but refuse to buy another card and have sold 90% of my collection over the last 2 years. Yeah, the only way I would play that is you go one thing and everybody buys 4 packs and that's the packs you use or whatever you, I guess, draft from. But I just don't know enough about the game. But, if I want to play that kind of game, I just fire up, what's the game that Blizzard made that's like that? Hearthstone. and just play that. And I've played that, well, many years ago, but a fair amount. I kind of understand how those kind of games work. They're a little too boring for my taste. I don't mind collectible stuff as long as you can collect the whole collection, but that whole, well, you don't know which one you're going to get kind of thing. That's just not really my cup of tea. Pokemon player. It's the same thing, isn't it? Same thing as Magic the Gathering. It's just a different. I tell you what, the thing about Pokemon, whoever names those things must have failed advertising. You know. The names they give them, or the lack of ideas in naming some of those creatures. Fire. Yeah, I played that for a little bit at lunchtime. For free. Didn't spend any money on it. I see no point in spending money on those kind of games. You're going to get tired of them anyways. If you're going to play those kind of games, you kind of have to appreciate the shitty stuff so that when you get the good stuff, it's really, you can really tell the difference. Pokemon's aimed at children. Magic the Gathering is aimed at adults with too much extra money to throw around. So, do you like the stock children or adults? That's what it boils down to, right? So I was looked up today. What was that name of that game? Bunkers and Badasses. I didn't know they actually made a role-playing game based on that fake game. I thought about playing that game all the way through with the ninja. Who's the ninja? Zero. But that's just a waste of time. I just don't want to do boss fights. The dialogue is really the appeal. The dialogue is incredible. Sometimes. I actually know somebody. I was thinking about this the other day. I actually know somebody who reminds me of Claptrap. Oh, here we go. Okay. But yeah, I downloaded that demo and I'm like, I don't need these kind of jump scares in my life. You know? But aren't the games really linear? It seems like they would be really linear. And I'm not a fan of linear games at all. I like the, hey, what's up on that hill? I don't know. Go out and check it out. It might get you killed, but at least you were able to walk over there. I just wish there was the thing about video games. I wish there was a driving game that would be just as easy to drive as a real car. Because I don't care what game it is, those things are harder to drive than. And I'm not bad at them, but I'm just saying that it's easier to drive a real car than it is, you know, some of the video games with the steering. It's like, okay, just tap it a little bit, tap it a little, so you end up driving like this the whole time. You never. It's none of it's smooth, even with a wheel and stuff. Because I like those. I like the racing. I like the racing games where you're not constrained to being on a race course only. What's a video game you guys played that was really popular for just about everybody, or was a very popular video game, but you just didn't? It just didn't work for you. What is the game that was really popular and didn't work for you? I got a long list. Zelda Breath of the Wild. That a computer game or Nintendo stuff? I will admit I am not a Nintendo fan. Their games are way too pacifist for my take. I'm a pacifist. I'm a devout pacifist every day. So I want to, commit war crimes and do atrocities when I'm playing games. When the situation calls for it, not just all the time for no reason. Assassin's Creed would probably be the most recent. Okay. Any sports games. The thing is, I can't stand watching sports, but I like playing stuff like Madden and things like that. And everybody that I know that's a sports fan doesn't play them. Or they'll, not play them realistically. They'll be like, all they do is throw Hail Marys or something like that. But I don't mind the sports games because I feel like I'm participating. Just sitting there watching sports, I'd rather watch paint dry. Like you guys are. Except the boxing game. God, that would be boring as hell. Games that were really popular that I never got into, I don't like the Fallout games. It's just too much, and it's just the style that they're done in, not necessarily the subject matter. And they seem to be really popular, but you love the themes in Assassin's Creed, but can't stand the combat. Yeah, well, the combat is really similar to. I think it's really similar to World of Warcraft, which kind of sucks. I mean, yeah. In Assassin's Creed, I don't mind talking to the people as much as I hated talking to the people in Elder Scrolls. I just didn't want to talk to anybody in Elder Scrolls at all. They were wooden and stuff. The conversations in the Assassin's Creed's one that I've played seemed to be all right. Madden games are fun. I like to create a character from those games. Always make some 7-foot guy, 400 pound. Add name and name him Malignant to. I haven't played one in a long time. Malignant tumor. You just got your ass beat by a malignant tumor. Never played any Final Fantasy games. It just seems like they would be really linear. And I don't like stuff that's linear. Like, okay, you got to get past this point or you don't get to play the rest of the game. I'm like, can't there be another way to go around it? Nope, you got to do this. And it's not like the battle of a boss at the end of the whole game. I mean, you know, that's kind of has to be there. But, and then some bosses are just too difficult. I remember the Borderlands. I have 3 of them. I have the second one, what's it called? The pre-sequel, the prequel, something like that, and then the third one. And I've beaten the first one and the third one, but the bosses on the prequel is just, I mean, I've played it like 15, 20, 25 times, even with other people, just couldn't get by it. I'm like, okay, I'm done, you know. I have not played Mount and Blade. Is it good? Hey, what's the name of that? There's a medieval one that is set like in the time period of the Hussites. And somebody was telling me about it, that it was pretty cool. But it has a very generic sounding name. It's not like, you know, something specific to it. And that's supposedly pretty good. I've not played Mount and Blade. It looks, from the onset, it looks like it's very kind of generic. I could be wrong. That just, you know, may look, you know, it looks to be that way. I could be wrong. With Fire and Sword, okay. Yeah, it has kind of a generic sounding name, but I've heard that one's good. I never did play and I'm a fan of the Dynasty Warriors games. I kind of got into them by accident, and actually I picked one up on a whim. I think I rented one back when you could rent games a long time ago for the Xbox. It might have been Dynasty Warriors 3 or something like that. And I was familiar with the characters from playing, even though I'm not a Nintendo fan. A friend of mine had a Nintendo, and the Three Kingdoms game for the Nintendo. So I knew some of the characters. And I've played a few of them. And they have an open world one that came out maybe 5 years ago, and I've never played it, and it got kind of reviews, you know. And I just mentioned that to you because I know you're into the Chinese stuff, and I really like Dynasty Warriors stuff, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I like the video games and the fakey stuff better than the actual movie. I wasn't a huge fan of Red Cliff, but Dynasty Warriors 9. I don't know which ones I got. I think I have 3, 4, and 5, and I've got all for the console, and I've got one of the Empires one, and I've got the Samurai Warriors one as well. But I prefer the music that's in Dynasty Warriors. There's some awesome music in that game. There is some really good music in that game. You waited until it was $5, snagged it. A lot of the negative reviews were in the beginning of the game's release. Okay. $5, huh? Is that for computer or for console? Yeah, when something's real cheap, I'll get it. I'm like, I can risk $5 for this. You know, I'll get $5 worth of entertainment out of it. 5 is your favorite. Okay. Yeah, I have 5. I think the music in it is great, but I like that kind of music, and it has no vocals. Perfect. I like it better than Samurai Warriors. 'Cause I like the. I've played. I only played one Samurai Warriors game, and but I've played several of the Three Kingdoms. I like Ma Chao. I like him, the dragon guy. He's my favorite one because he looks cool. PC and console. Got it for your PS4. Okay. I like Ma Chao. And I've tried playing the Total War. I have the Total War Three Kingdoms. It's too complicated. It makes my head hurt. You know, I just don't want to play it bad enough. You know, I got other things I'd rather be doing than playing that. Because you could play it as heroes and move your little heroes around. Okay. Now, this one has the tools painted on it. These two don't. And obviously that one doesn't have a crew member. So we're going to have to do our Nazi tank commander as well. Make sure they look good, decent at a distance. Little rivets and stuff pop. Yep, looks good. And I found out that the inside of the hatch is not painted the inside of the tank color. I guess otherwise it would stand out too much. So I did look at that. I'm going to have those freaking songs stuck in my head. Yeah, actually, there's a YouTube channel that has all of the songs all on a big playlist. I think they're great. I think they're great. Oh, good times. Didn't they make like a 100 Years War one as well? Nah, that doesn't work. You guys just stick to the Three Kingdoms. Just stick to Three Kingdoms. The first one I played, Dynasty Warriors 3, I played Zaho Yun all the way through. And then I've played quite a few of the characters in those. I haven't played every character, but I've played quite a few of them. Bladestorm. My least favorite faction is Wu. I'm not a fan of Wu. I don't dislike them. I don't think that many of their characters are that interesting. They got the one guy that's got like a, I can't remember what his name is, but he's got kind of like a mace or something like that. He's not bad, but most of them, you know, Bladestorm. All right, I better write some of this stuff down so I can pass the quiz later on. I'll look at the stuff, the homework assignment as I like to call it. Okay, so what do we got here? English voice acting is so bad, it's great. Yeah, I played that one a lot because it was the first one. I had that one for the original Xbox. Let's see, which is the one? Mount and Blade. Mount and Blade. And then Bladestorm. You still quote Dynasty Warriors 3 line. God, I can't remember any. Man, the first time you encounter Lubu, what a bastard he is to deal with. What a bastard. I can't stand fighting that. I hate Dong Zhuo. I hate that guy. I guess that's the whole point. You're supposed to hate that guy. And what else? Yeah, I never played the open world one. I think I would like it, but then again, it might not have. You know, the thing that's kind of lacking in those games. There's a whole lot of fighting, and there's like a lack of finding treasure in them. I wish there was like more treasure to find. You know, more improvements and stuff on your things. Dynasty Warriors 9, Absolute Dream, Open World Feudal Japan. You sure it was Japan? Fortunately, instead of waves and waves of opponents like you used to in those kinds, it was like 4 people. Ooh, I'm up to work the bugs out, and the next one will live up to the promise. Dong Zhuo did nothing wrong. He was just a big fat bastard that was not likable. I don't like him. I don't like him. Ma Chao was my favorite. Ma Chao easily was my favorite. Not even close. Didn't really play much of the Three Brothers. I did play him. I'm not a fan of the youngest one, whatever it is. Zhang Fei or whatever his name is. The guy, is it Zhao Dun? The guy who is the guy with the one eye patch, the swordsman with the one eye patch for Wei. He's cool. I like playing him. Zhao Dun was your favorite. He looked cool, you know? Hey, it's important, you know? And some characters were just silly. Although remember what's the fat guy's name? The fat guy for Wei. The guy that has like the big mace. He just sounds like a big child. It's funny because Dynasty Warriors actually had, Samurai Warriors had a guy with an one eye patch, and I like playing him too. Guys with patches or eye patches are fun to play until it's you. Juhu. Juhu. Big boy. Juhu. There's a character like him in Samurai Warriors too. But in Samurai Warriors, I like playing the monk, Wesugi, Kenshin. So much so that that's what my samurai army is based on. Historically, Juhu was pretty bad. I would imagine that all the guys were pretty badass. Not a fan of the Wu girl that shoots the arrows. She's like, you know, in like some out of place. Damn it! All right, you guys did it. I'm gonna have to look and see who these characters are. I haven't played in a long time. I had a lot of fun playing. I played it a lot. Shogun 2 Total War. I couldn't get into that one. As a matter of fact, that was the first one that couldn't work on my other computer. And then when I got this one, it ended up being free. I just can't get into it. It just seems like every army is the same. Dynasty Warriors, 3 characters. I'm gonna have to listen to that on the way to work. I'm gonna have to listen to the soundtrack. What a great soundtrack. Let's see. What? Oh, come on. You need to show me the one that has all the pictures. I know who all these guys. I probably played most of them. Images. Well, this isn't a very useful This isn't a very useful search. Okay, here we go. All right. Menghuo, what a pain in the ass that guy is. Got to beat him 7 times or whatever. Gang Ning isn't bad. He's the pirate guy. He's not bad. I don't think that Wang Shao was anything special, but I like how he looked. He just kind of looked like a traditional type of warlord. Oh, Zhang He. He's the guy that had like the fingernails, right? Zhen Ji, that's the cute flautist, the flute player girl. Yeah, Zhao Dun's pretty freaking cool. Eye patch and all. Yeah. Good times, good times. Good times. It's amazing the things you haven't played in like 10 years, but you still remember. Someone's making mods for the old Dynasty Warriors games that make the grunts more aggressive. Yeah, well, they can only improve. But that's one thing that I always thought was kind of cool about the game. It's like there's like a war going on where you're like, hey, let's go over here and influence this. Let's have them win over here. Let's have them win over there. Okay. You're gonna have to go adios. So 9 is the one that was the free go around, and I wanted to get that one. And then I have a feeling that you probably traverse like these huge swaths of land where nothing's going on, and then you go over there and like, what's that over there? Something behind a tree, a little thing to break open, and then you got the little, what do you call those little egg rolls you eat for health? Not the egg rolls, then. What do you call those things? The little muffins. I forget what the hell they're called. The pot stickers. Pot stickers of health. Okay, we just need to do a tank commander for this. And I think they're going to look really good once we're done with them. I just don't dare spray them in the dark. I've done that, and you end up putting too much spray, you know, and then ruining it. So we're not going to do that. Oh, we do need to paint both of these the little wooden crate thing in the wood color. Yeah, I'd imagine it's probably pretty easy to find it pretty cheap now. It's been out for a few years. I never got it. I got something else instead, and I forgot what it was. They just figured it'd probably be too much of the same thing over and over and over. Too much grinding. We don't need that. We need... we don't need this to spill. We need this. Might have gotten Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that when it came out. I don't like Westerns, and I like those games. And again, it's like, okay, what's over here? I can't believe there's still people playing Grand Theft Auto 5 or whatever the hell it is. I played that a lot, but man, it's been every bit of maybe 6 years since I've played it. Maybe even longer. I don't really remember how long it's been around, but I played it for quite a bit. And it's like, any game gets old. You know, it's like, oh yeah, this again. And that was probably the last game I played with a group of people that I actually knew. Because everybody had kind of a skill set. I was really good at flying the planes. I don't know why the other people that I played with just couldn't fly the planes at all, but planes were easy. I couldn't fly the helicopter worth a damn. People, Three Kingdoms have been excited for a game called Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I was going to build one of those armies. A Three Kingdoms Chinese army way back when, before they made figures of them. But I was going to build it based on Sima Yi. So it's going to be after the period, because really those guys during them, they all fought amongst themselves and never really got anywhere. So I think Sima Yi's guys in the game are purple. So I was going to make them purplish, but I never got around to doing it. You know, there's always something else to do. And that was before they came out with, who is it that makes the figures for those guys? Lurkio? I think Lurkio makes them. I don't know how accurate they are, but they got some heavy blademen that look pretty cool. Rockstar have been updating Grand Theft Auto to make it more of an online experience. I don't know why those games have such a terrible controls. The controls are just take a long time getting used to. You hate people. I'm back. Okay. It's all right to hate people. They do it to themselves. We had a big group of guys that used to play those games probably around 2005, 2006. Actually, even before that, with the original Xbox. Played, is it Ghost Recon? I don't know. Rainbow Six Vegas. Micro World Games. That doesn't ring a bell. They like a 6mm manufacturer? I wish the samurai armies were a little bit more interesting, but they just aren't. They're a little too, you know. Boring. The fact that they're all the same is kind of like, well, that takes kind of the fun out of it. I got one and it's not updated to the current version, and probably never will be at this point. Okay, Micro World has 6mm, 3mm, a few 15mm. Okay, it sounded like it was a 6mm manufacturer. If it's the guys I'm thinking of, they make like some Renaissance in 6mm or something like that. Always do an Iko Iki monk army. Iko Iki. You gotta look out for that guy. He's got a case of the Iko Ikis. Yeah, I actually have a lot of samurai troops. I don't have any of those. So I'd have to buy even more. I'm like, eh. I got I got plenty of 15s. I look forward to painting whenever I get back to it. I just don't know when that's going to be. It certainly isn't going to be for a show. It's going to be because I feel like painting these guys. Might actually give. God, I just don't want to read rules. I was going to say Dragon Rampant a try, you know, and then not Dragon Rampant, Lion Rampant, and, you know, modify it as needed. But I just don't want to read rules. I don't mind playing it. I don't, you know, but I played a couple games of Lion Rampant. 3 games, I think. I enjoyed every one of them. I think you could play with, figures on stands in 15 mil. You just have to mark casualties, which isn't a big deal. Yeah, the Byzantines turned out well. It's not a factor of, it's not a matter of they didn't turn out well. It's just a matter of, I'm just tired of playing games that are just too abstract for my own taste. You know? One of the next things we're going to play test is some Byzantines, and the Byzantines will be able to fire at a distance. And so will Sassanids and stuff like that. I'm not really worried about, something that's balanced for tournaments. I'm more like, going to do a historical battle. How are these guys going to behave like they did in real life? And Byzantines and Sassanids shot at each other with bows. I mean, yeah, they could come to blows, but they were both bow-wielded cavalry. I can't think of any armies that I've done any. Actually, can't think of any of them at all, and I don't like how they turned out. Just it's time to do something a little different for a while. Now I actually have a fourth Czech 38 that is a Skytrex model, and I don't know where it is. I know where it is. I'm just not going to go dig for it. We painted a bunch of French Napoleonics infantry 6 mil from Bacchus. Came away not liking it. The eye strain is just too much for me. Yeah. I wish there was just more variety in 6 mil stuff. Otherwise, I'd do it because I like the idea of being able to see what they look like in formations and stuff like that. No, all three of these guys look pretty equivalent. Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out and take a look. Let's zoom out, put them on a stand, and take a look. All right, I'm going to do something stupid. I'm going to go spray these guys very lightly. I'm going to be repeating very lightly to myself every time. And then I'll come back and I don't know what we'll do. Be right back. Okay. A bit warmish out there. It's supposed to cool down again. I hope. Nah, we're not going to paint this little Nazi guy yet. I got to do that off camera. I'm not in a hurry to paint black. I've done it before. It's just pretty uninspiring looking most of the time. What's next? Well, we can't spray paint the T70s. Can't do this because the tanks are out there dry. I'm kind of backed myself into a corner here. Let me put this stuff away. It should not take long for them to dry. It'll be pretty usable in about 15 minutes because I went really, really, really light. If I still have some gloss on the numbers, then I will spot paint the flat coat. So that is something that I could do. Okay, well, we got this T-34 that has not been weathered yet. Did I ever make the? I don't think I did. I don't think I made the stands for these guys. I got these two T-34s. This one's done from Skytrex, and this is the SHQ one, and it's done as well. It just hasn't been weathered. Let's get two of those out, and I'm going to want to make them the same size as the other T-34s are, if I can get away with that, for the sake of consistency. Here's two. I hope these Panzer 3s will fit on there. Yeah, they're fine. They're just kind of chunky. But hey, they'll work for me. Did I have a couple? I have one more. I think I only need 4 for a scenario, for one scenario. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I think I only need... What's going on here? How am I not seeing that? I mean, it's not a big deal, but... All right. Damn it, man. I only need them for one scenario. I happen to have one that was a Skytrex one. And I could definitely see getting another pack of those Czech 38s. That'll be close enough. And then building one more, and then making the other ones the Martyrs I don't have, which are the Martyr H's. So I've got the Martyr 3 that comes in there. I've got one of those from Millicast. Then I'm probably going to... It's completely painted, and it was done 20 years ago, and it was done not badly, but in an extremely slow method that looks worse than I'm doing now. It was all done with layering, and it's not weathered. But it doesn't look bad. It looks better than the stuff that I have now. And the stuff I have now took a hell of a lot less time to do. So these should be close. And that's all we need. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna take did they use the full length? They did. Okay, cool. That makes it a lot easier. You don't have to cut that off. So let's trim this. But I do have one from Millicast. I may look for them here in a second. And I haven't used eBay in a long time until recently, and now they are a source for things that aren't available anymore. Because there's apparently, unlike miniatures, many of these model kits aren't available anymore. I spent too long out of the system. Yeah, well, the good thing about using the big nail clipper is when it dies, you just go to Walgreens and buy another one. And they work reasonably well. Because there's no point in getting one of those Oregon, what is it called? Oregon laminations? If they're not durable. They're certainly not cheap. Too much on Godzilla stuff. Is there that much Godzilla stuff? I played a Godzilla game on the console many years ago. And I remember it was just kind of lacking. Godzilla! Geez, how many Godzilla movies are there? 30? A bunch. Yeah, what I didn't realize about the early 234s is there's one that's specifically made at Stalingrad, the STZ one, and it's actually these. Because they have the back of it is actually flat, has some rivets on it. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the Model 41. All the Model 41 ones that I have are STZs from Stalingrad. Which is probably not ideal, but that's what I got them. I got these guys at an estate sale. And it was a deal I couldn't pass up, and they didn't want them, and I didn't want to not get them. So, luckily, it was a bunch of Soviet stuff and not like a shitload more German stuff. You know, because everybody always has more German stuff than anything else. I'm like, I don't need more Germans without getting, you know, Soviets or Americans or whoever to go with it, you know. You know, they need somebody to fight. So. And honestly, those BT-7s that I just finished a little while ago, that's some of the nicest vehicles I think that I've turned out. And they're honestly pretty boring. They're just green. But I think the turret markings make them kind of interesting. Well, we don't have to do this, but I choose to scratch the surface of the side that's going to get the goop. I wish this magnet was stronger, but I didn't want to spend a shitload of money on this. Just a way to transport these things if I need to transport them. Although it's looking less and less likely that that's going to be a necessity. I don't want to put on the game and spend hours putting it together and then possibly have to tear it down because we weren't done yet. And I was looking at some of those battle sets that are made by Italeri, including like they have like one that's like the Battle of the Reichstag. They have a whole Reichstag that's made out of MDF, laser cut. Really a huge building. Of course, it's only the front of it, but Battle Berlin's kind of snore fest. Yeah, a little too late. You know, unless you want to do some like Tiger tanks with like blue numbers or something like that. They had some crazy paint scheme stuff. Okay, we're almost to the point where we're gonna have to order this, because we are getting to the bottom of the tub. All right, so we're gonna goop this, and we're gonna go ahead and grab the Czech 38s that are out there. They should be dry enough to handle. Get more of this stuff before they discontinue this product too. Man, I hope tomorrow goes by fast. My least favorite day of the week. Not a fan of Fridays until the work day's over. So there's one scenario that's in skirmish campaigns that involves, I built these two specifically for it. It's a couple of Kursk period T-34s, and they've got tank riders on each one, and that's what the Russians have. So the Russians have like 2 tanks and 9 infantry each. So what, 18 infantry? And they have to get off a board edge. And the board edge is protected by a squad and a half, including an anti-tank gun. And I think that's actually a good scenario to test. What happens when a vehicle gets knocked out, or worse, while it has people riding on the back of it? So I gotta get going, got schoolwork to do, just 6 more weeks of this crap until graduation. Oh, I'm glad I'm not in school. Those days are over. And those all-nighters writing a paper at the last minute. Man, I hate writing a paper. I'd rather do just about anything else. I don't mind the test. I didn't mind the school. It's the frickin' papers. Ugh. Torture. Okay, so we got these 2 here. We're going to go rinse this spatula out. Spatula oblongata. And We'll bring the check 38s here and see what condition they're in. Be right back. Okay, Nordic, good night. Remember, right 234 is usually fought on platoons of 3 and 3 platoons in a company with a CO tank. That sounds right. Assuming they were at full strength. Yeah, 1 tank and 9 with a radio sounds about right. All right. We can close this up. I don't think we're going to need the wet palette the rest of the night. Let's see how dull these are. They're a little duller. We'll probably have to do some brush dull coat on there. Oh, I didn't label which one went with which. Well, this one goes with that one. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter a whole lot. Okay. All right, so here we have our Czech 38 tanks, and we'll just brush on some dull coat on those specific spots where the numbers are. The numbers aren't that bad. It's just the gray behind it is just a little glossy. That'll take all that out. But that should not interrupt us from basing these, which I would like to do tonight, because that way I can epoxy them, and in the morning we can put the grasses and stuff on them. Well, I don't know. I don't know about a lot of the stuff that was written about them didn't exist because they were too busy fighting, you know. But most of the scenarios that I have involve T-34s fighting in groups of 2 and 3. But again, you know, are those based on memoirs, or they're just play-tested scenarios that somebody created and there's not that much reality in them? It's hard to say. Okay, here I can see where this line is. How wide are we? We're about that wide. Okay, let's come in here and go ahead and just cut that there, and then take the scooper, which of course I left out there. Be right back. This one's relatively fresh here. So it should come up Pretty easy, just like this. Because we want to epoxy this to the bottom. And we're doing it this way because we don't want to have to try to get the goop all around the tank when it's attached on there, because that's a pain in the ass. So this system kind of works pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Got one book that's on my reading list that's actually called something like Tank Rider or something like that. It's the memoirs of a guy who was a Soviet tank rider. And I don't know how it is. It might be full of, you know, Stalin is great propaganda. Who knows? But I'm almost done with the Moscow counterattack book. Got about an hour or so left of it, and then we're going to go look at something else and keep our Eastern Front reading going. Okay, so if that's there, I know there's that line. You just can't tell where it is. There it is. And there it disappeared. Something like there. Just pondering how your games will be when you have small forces instead of giant games. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. You know, you can play other games and do giant games. Everybody's played the giant games. And I don't think you learn anything new about World War II by playing a giant game. So this is truly skirmish. And it's actually in actual scale. So the game scale is a centimeter is a meter. So it's pretty close to the actual scale of the models. So just that in itself makes it different than anything else. And you know, you're throwing grenades about 12 inches away or so. Maybe actually a little bit farther than that. So instead of house to house fighting, it's literally room to room fighting. And that just happens to be what I want to simulate. You know, you create a very interesting narrative when you start getting that granular in a game. And I will be playing it solo until I remember how to play it again, because it's been like 20 years. But I did learn how to play it on my own and was pretty happy with the results. Just, I did a couple things wrong. The first thing I did wrong was I did it at a convention. So automatically you do it at a convention, people that aren't familiar with it, you're going to spend more time than you should explaining the game to people. The second thing is I got people on both sides. So of course they're trying to win, taking me aside, asking me if they can do one thing or another without the other side knowing about it. And that eats up an incredible amount of time and leads to unfinished games, which, in my opinion, are a loss for everyone. You know, inconclusive games. Yeah, the narrative's what's interesting to me. So, you know, that's what I want to focus on. And it may be something that only I like the game and nobody else does. Well, that is a possibility, which means I'll play it by myself, and you know, we'll film it. You know, that's a way for me to keep interest. I know interesting things are going to happen. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But there's a couple scenarios in the skirmish campaigns that are pretty small. Another one has a couple of Soviet assault squads, like two. The premise is they've got to rescue a damaged Tiger tank, and so there's a tank crew, repair crew there's a knocked out tank in the middle of the battlefield, and there's a repair crew that the Germans have to try to get out there to fix it, and the Russians need to stop that. And I think just on paper it looks like it's a pretty tall order for the Germans, because the Germans they're outnumbered, and they generally have rifles, where the Soviets have submachine guns in this particular scenario. So it's kind of an interesting scenario from that standpoint. So you get to see have a tank on the field, but then again, you just need to get it running, kind of thing. So that's kind of a unique scenario that's in it. So not all of them are particularly big. You hate inconclusive games. It used to be the norm. All games were inconclusive, and I started playing this game called DBA, and you finished every game, and it's kind of addictive. It's kind of a new thing. So at the time, but it's nice. But if DBA was a World War II game, I wouldn't play it. It just doesn't even come close to the type of detail that I'm interested in World War II. It's tolerable for ancients because it's not really my thing. You have to kind of imagine the narrative. Well, this guy rolled this, so this is probably what happened. In this game, you know exactly what happened. Well, you threw a grenade over here, and it actually landed over here and took out a guy you couldn't see, because it landed in a place that you weren't expecting. Deviation and stuff. If you fail the roll, kind of thing. But I'm really interested to see how the vehicle rules work, because I've read them. I've actually never played with them. But I'm not too worried about it, because even if if they're not done 100% how they should be, this should be relatively easy to modify, because we're not running this as a tournament or anything. I'm actually planning on running it like a role-playing game, in that you're role-playing half of a squad, or 3 men, or something like that. You want to make sure that the sides of the stand are flush, and it's okay if you cut out a bigger section than you need on the middle, because you're not going to be able to see it. Okay, so like that one is good, just like that. This one is good like so. And then this one is good like so. All right, let's get a little vacuum cleaner and suck all this up. Let's mix up some epoxy up, which, man, was a pain in the ass to get down last time. I almost considered storing it upside down, but I know better. We're getting there. It moves. It just moves at a snail's pace. Let's do one more. Okay. Oh, this is the stinky one. Which one's this one? The hardener. Stinky. It's unusual when you work with products that pretty much don't smell. You encounter one that does have a scent and you're like, man, that's a bit much. And it really isn't. You're just used to products that don't have a smell. All right. Now, where is the needle? We only have a ton of them, and I don't know why they're all going missing all of a sudden. And just the needle's nice to use because it's totally reusable. Oh, we have some up here. This is where we ended up putting them. Yeah, the thing about inconclusive games is nobody wins, literally. I think that's, by definition, what the problem is. All right, let's take one at a time off. And we're going to cheat more towards the inside than the outside. Because we don't want this stuff oozing out the side. Boy, slinging that shit around. Okay, same thing with this one. These are really pretty light, so they should behave pretty well on here. Usually unfold metal paper clips. Yeah, that works too. I don't have any. I got tons of them at the office. I got needles. So yeah, that would work too. Now these check tanks actually have the machine gun on the left. So the driving compartment's actually on the right. Like British vehicles. I came across something the other day, I forget what vehicle it was, but the loader actually was the one that fired the machine gun on it. Instead of it was a coax machine gun that was fired by the loader. forget which one it was. It might have been the check. I don't remember what it is. I don't want to rattle off what it was, but I was reading about it and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I think I came across a vehicle. The commander was a two-man turret, and the commander was actually the loader, not the gunner, which is kind of unusual as well. Should have written down what those were so I could cross-check them and make sure somebody wasn't trying to push a faulty agenda. Okay, now these guys should be completely glued and dried in the morning. So we're going to attempt at that point to finish up, put the happy little grasses on there. And of course, we won't have a commander in there yet. That's going to have to wait until probably Saturday morning. That's a Saturday morning project. But those look pretty good. And man, the rivets make them look, give them a unique appearance. But anyways, that's going to be it for tonight. It's just after 10 o'clock. Thanks for stopping by, folks. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.